Hello, everybody. How you doing? It's Matt here, live on my third YouTube video. It's going to be a shorter one, I think, unless I accidentally left the chat on. So if people ask me questions or are obnoxious and rude, it's either going to go really short or maybe it'll go a little longer. But I wanted to go through the CTFN article that just came out on BMYRT. That's the reason why it went up so much in the last hour of trading. I do have I took notes on it from someone that read it to me over the phone, and I want to go over some key points. So first of all, there's only one source that is quoted in this article. There's also an FDA spokesperson that is also quoted in the article without the name. So it's an anonymous FDA spokesperson and an anonymous source. The source has a lot of very detailed information, but I can't stress enough how it's just one source, and CTFN in general is not known as the highest of quality when it comes to getting things right all the time. It's not to disparage them, but that's just kind of the view from a lot of people that have been doing the risk arb game for a long time. So let me tell you some of the salient points of this article. Let me pull it up here. She goes on to say that while inspections have not occurred yet at either the Texas facility or the Seattle facility, the source remains confident that inspections will be completed on time. She said that an FDA official, a former FDA official, says that even if they don't inspect, a case file could be left open at the PDUFA date, and they would approve allowing an inspection at a later date. The source says there's nothing to suggest that Lysocell will need another extension or that the FDA will acquire more data. This part's pretty important. The source says there's been no communication from the FDA suggesting they will not approve Lysocell or that they won't inspect the facilities. Now, I think that's pretty interesting because while a lot of these sources might be weak or even made up, not that the author would make it up, but that the source was making up their information, that suggests that this source is either intimately involved with the process, is FDA, or is someone at Bristol Myers. I don't know how anyone else would know that there's been no communication between the FDA and Bristol Myers, that they will either not approve Lysocell or they will not inspect the facilities. The second part of the article, excuse me for 1 second. My notes here. Second part of the article said that that they think that while CBER, the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, they're the ones that are also doing the vaccines. While CBER is based in Maryland, it says Washington here, but it really is Maryland, so that's not true. That CDER, C-D-E-R, the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, which is not involved at all in Lysocell, has a local office. We knew this, has a local office in Seattle, and they will do the search or the inspection, excuse me, not may. And it says that they'll be on the phone with CBER while they do it. The last part of the article talks about the FDA and about whether these letters have gone out. I talked in the last two updates about how the FDA has been sending letters to different drug manufacturers that have upcoming PDUFAs. These have all passed now at this point, saying that they have to inspect, they can't inspect, and they might miss the PDUFA date. This part's interesting. The FDA told CTFN that they have not sent any letters with any upcoming PDUFA dates about the potential for missing goals because of COVID. I guess if you look at that language, it says the FDA has not said that any future PDUFA dates have been told that they might miss. The information that I had was that previous PDUFA dates that passed, that were August and before, had letters that went out that said that they might miss the PDUFA date or that they couldn't inspect. The FDA spokesman then goes on to talk about how important drugs are, and they will continue to work as hard as they can with their daily activities outside of COVID. So what do I think about all this? Let me pull back on the YouTube chat. I think that it's really bullish, but I think you have to have some degree of skepticism here. It's only one source. Usually when we do merger arb stuff, we hope there's 2, 3, 4 sources in one article, and then another or 2 other articles come out to confirm that source. or that journalism, excuse me. This is one single article with one single source. It's a very low quality, period. Now, if we got another article that came out in the coming days that said the same thing, I would take it to mean a lot more. All that said, I remain very confident that they do inspect and they do approve by the PDUFA. I had a funny conversation with a friend the other day, and he asked me what my odds were on Lysocell being approved on time. And I think I talked about it in the last video. And obviously it changes every day based on what my mood is and based on how much money I've lost on this thing. But I told him I went down to 65% to be approved on time. But with gun to head, I'm probably more like 75%. And really, I'm more like 90%. Now, let me explain all three of those things. How could I be 65%, 75%, and 90% all at the same time? Well, if you told me that I could have a ball or a jar, excuse me, like a Powerball system where there's 100 balls in it, 100 lotto balls, and I would get 70 of them on my side. So I had a 70% chance of pulling a ball out of this lottery bucket. I don't know why I can't speak right now. And I could have the 70% chance of pulling this ball, or I can go ahead and wait to see if Lysocell is approved by the PDUFA date. I would unequivocally choose to wait for Lysocell to be approved by the PDUFA date. And that would be 70% odds, 70 out of 100. So clearly I'm not at 65% and I'm not at 70% if I'm not indifferent about whether I would play this game with the balls. I think the only way I would go forward with doing the lotto versus actually waiting out to see what happens is if I got 90+% in the lotto. I arrive at 90% because every stat you look at in a non-COVID world, this drug is 90+% chance of being approved. In fact, I think I read that 12 different breakthrough designation drugs in history have gotten major amendments, and all 12 for 12 were approved in the first cycle after the major amendment. Also, all breakthrough designation drugs all are 90+%. And most importantly, Lysocell specifically is a great drug that has a differentiated product and should be approved. The other thing that I've talked about with my friends in the last few months, and again, I don't know anything about medicine or biotech, just like I don't know anything about being a lawyer and risk arb. You'll learn I don't know really anything about anything, but I can fake it pretty well. From what I've learned over the last few months about Lysocell, I can say unequivocally, if I had a loved one that needed one of these CAR-Ts for this very specialized cancer, I would do all I could to give my loved one Lysocell versus the two competitors. It has been tested in hundreds of people and has a differentiated profile, period. So I don't know why people would argue this is a Me Too drug. Let's see what they would do if it came to their loved one having to choose between which of these three drugs they would want. I would challenge a certain person to ask that question to themselves, whether you all know who I'm talking about. I won't mention him by name. Anyway, that's where I'm at with this. I think that this is very bullish, and the stock shouldn't be $2.50, 60 cents, 70 cents. It probably should be $3.50 right now. Not just because of today's article, but because about this inspection stuff is overblown. The FDA is not going to miss PDUFA dates. PDUFA dates are too important, and this drug's too important, and it's a very bad look for the FDA. And they have a way around it. They make their own rules. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and good seeing everybody. Bye.